over the weekend, I think there was a deal made in the division the Leafs need to respond to, and that's Seth Jones going from Chicago to Florida. What did you make of that? And do you expect a response from the Leafs here?
What I think about it, it's interesting. You moved kind of a big name guy. It's not very long ago that contract seemed unmovable, but it shows it's like inflation within the league. All of a sudden with some retained happening and the cap going up, and all of a sudden that contract is movable. I think he makes the Panthers back end considerably better, and I don't like the idea that the biggest weapon, albeit they are below us in the standings. They are the Florida Panthers. They have their playoff mentality. They're coached by who they're coached. They have their experience. They are a weapon, and they just got a little bit better. I don't really follow, the thought that, oh, you have to respond now. Like you already knew where you wanted to make your team better. And that's been spoken of, and Tree Living's addressed it. And I don't think anything changes. You have your team. You're worried about yourself. You got to do what you have to do. If you're making a run this year, you're going to make your team as good as possible at the deadline, regardless of what happens around you. So I don't think there needs to be like an instant response, but there's no question that their biggest adversary in this division just got a little bit better.
Well, for me, I think you need to respond because the pathway in this conference, in this division, is through the Florida Panthers. With due respect to the Tampa Bay Lightning, the quietest 8-game win streak in hockey right now. Vasilevsky out of this world, and Tampa wins, Toronto wins, Florida wins every night. It's insane to me. You can't create separation in the standings. I think they need to respond. I just don't know who it's going to be. I don't know how I'll react if it's like a tertiary name, like a Jake Evans, and not like a Braden Shen, not a Scott Lawton. But I think the fact that Florida brings in a guy like Seth Jones, I think they've been really missing a guy like Brandon Montour this year, who went to Seattle, signed a free agent contract, and to bring in Jones at $7 million per season because there's a bit of a retention and deal your backup goalie. I know he's the future. He's 23 and Spencer Knight, but I thought it was a sound piece of business. And on top of that, the Panthers are LTIRing Matthew Tkachuk, and who knows? They really haven't identified this or made it clear yet, but there's a chance he doesn't return until the playoffs, which means I think the Panthers
Greece.
could have something else brewing here, right?
Grease. That means pure greasiness. How long until every team just does this like clockwork? Like it's just all right, LTI some of your big boys and go shopping. It's not. It is such a loophole in the CBA. With the amount of lawyers and hockey minds around it, I can't believe this is a thing. It's not right. And I'm not saying the Panthers have done anything wrong, but you can't roll into the playoffs over the cap an insane amount, which has happened in the past with multiple teams, a couple of different times there with the Vegas Golden Knights and teams that are winning the Stanley Cup. You can't you can't do it. It could happen to the Leafs. Like Matthews doesn't exactly look like he's firing on all cylinders. All of a sudden he could be like, I need to take care of this. He's on LTIR. You open up some cap room, do something this week, and then all of a sudden he comes back for play. Like it could happen to anyone. I'm not pointing fingers, but it's greasy.
Yeah.
And to think that the Florida Panthers, as good and heavy as they are, could be in that situation is it's not right in my opinion. In my opinion, it's not in the spirit of sport where it's an equal chance for everyone. It's just a complete anomaly, and I don't think it's good for the game when it happens. So we'll see. But the Panthers continue to be strong, obviously. But not saying losing to Chuck is helping them, but if it in so facto happens there, you know exactly what the Chuck's going to do if he gets 6 weeks of rest and rehabilitation and comes back for the playoffs. You know exactly where he's going to take off from.
I get what you're saying, but the fact that he was very limited in the Four Nations final and everything's been consistent with this guy being pretty seriously injured, like I heard like a groin tear, like it's something around that. And we all know like recovery, even if you're a professional athlete, takes quite a bit of time. But I tend to side with you that wow, it's like quite a coincidence that it's game one of the playoffs or around there. Like if he returns for game one of the playoffs, I'm going to be like, what the hell? Because I think this just opens up way more flexibility for the Florida Panthers to do something. But I don't know if I agree that it's similar to what Vegas does every year with Mark Stone suddenly gets hurt. And I know there's going to be pushback on that too, but it is a loophole. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, I guess.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that he's not hurt and that they're doing
Yeah.
this on purpose. I'm just saying if that is what in fact happens, it's not right.
Hmm.
I really think that you should have to um, if you're to activate a guy from LTIR during the playoffs, you should have to pull, like, your roster that you dress on the ice should have to be under the cap, or
Yeah.
the guy has to be deactivated, or something happens. You can't just play all these guys. Oh, I know they loaded up with that guy because so-and-so's hurt. Now he's not. It's the most important time of the year. They can all play now. It's just crazy. It's a problem, and they will close that loophole with the next CBA. But I think they should force something through right now and get the PA involved and be like, this isn't right. And if the Florida Panthers go out and replace Matthew Tkachuk's contract for the remainder of the season, and then he comes back being who he is, it's just not right. It's a completely unfair advantage. And I'm not blaming them for cheating. I'm just saying this is just a loophole that doesn't make it fair. It's not in the spirit of the competition or the game or the league.
Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.